All right, making a video about baseball, things that everybody 10U, 11U should know. Starting with bunting and bunt coverage. Say we want bunting and bunt coverage to be the thing that wins us close games, not the reason we lose. If you saw the Little League World Series, Florida versus Taiwan, it was the bottom of the 8th. So extra innings, they normally play 6 innings. And it was, I think, what they call a California tiebreaker, where they start each extra inning, each half of the inning with runners on second base. So it was the bottom of the 8th, and it was still tied 1-1. And Florida's first batter laid down a bunt down the first base line. Pitcher and the first baseman both go after the ball. First baseman fields it, spins around, and throws to first, and there's nobody there, no baseman there. Ball ends up in right field, and the winning run scores for Florida. You're right. Florida won the game, lost for Taiwan. So the question obviously is, who should have been covering first? Hopefully by now you've said second baseman, right? So I think standard coverage is going to be where we kind of, for second baseman and shortstop, rotating towards the ball, right? I guess pretty much everyone. So, infield here, if the bunt is down the first baseline, first baseman's going to charge, second baseman slides over to cover third, shortstop can cover second. Alternately, if the bunt's down the third baseline, third baseman is going to charge, shortstop can slide over to cover third, second baseman can cover second, first baseman obviously stays home and covers first. So I think that's pretty standard. Just kind of remember to rotate towards the ball. Most important thing for second baseman and shortstops are going to be to cover the corner if it's not covered, right? So if you look over to the corner first because you forgot what to do, and that baseman is still there, then you don't need to cover. Maybe think about covering second. If they're charging, fill in their hole behind them and cover their base. First and third are kind of the key bases we want to watch on bunt situations in general. Obviously home with the catcher, but so anyway, talk to your head coach about if there's any situations that are different. Maybe practice doing some infield in, going home if bases loaded, or trying to stop the tying run or game-winning run, going for on a ground ball or even a bunt if you can get them. So next thing I want to talk about on this video, probably keep them shorter, but at least cover a couple topics on each. Next thing would be stealing. At this age, you should be taking leads and getting good leads, good jumps, or good secondary lead if you're not stealing. Of course, it's situational at this level, and some kids, catchers and pitchers, aren't the greatest at dealing with base runners, don't have the best arms, etc. But you still need to be getting a good lead and a good jump every time, just as habit, because obviously sometimes you're going to face some teams that do have, good pitchers, catchers, slide steps, pitch out, stuff like that, to give them the advantage and maybe bust you stealing a base. So, you want to get a big lead, listen to your base coach. If you're not sure, ask him if it's big enough, if he's not telling you. You want to be able to dive head first back safely and be safe, but you want it to be to where you're, it's kind of close, but you're definitely safe. And then, you need to know when to get that good jump. I'm going to repeat it here, even though hopefully all of you know it by now, but if it's a right-handed pitcher, you're watching his feet, right? And if his foot on the rubber, his right foot moves, then you're getting back. He's coming at you. He's either stepping off and turning to throw at you, or he's jumping and spinning to throw at you at first. Either way, that right foot on the rubber is going to move. If the other foot, the left foot, the one closer to home, is the only one that moves and it lifts by itself, then you can safely take that jump, and that's your signal to steal and go to second as fast as you can and slide. So opposite, if there's a left-handed pitcher, now he's looking at you, facing you. That means we get a smaller lead and not quite as good a jump. But either way, we're gonna get the biggest lead we can. And now we're watching his front leg, his front knee. And if that leg crosses the back leg, we can go. Or if it doesn't, when it starts, that front leg starts to go home, that front knee starts to go home, then we can go. Hopefully that makes sense. You practice it with your team, hopefully, as well. So I just want to add this in there as well. If nobody's holding you on at second base and you have a huge lead, get a good jump and go, right? You don't have to be on a steal sign, in my opinion, to steal a base if you know you can make it, right? So, you know, coach gives you a steal sign before the pitch starts. So you don't necessarily know yet that you're going to be able to get this huge jump, you know? So if you have the huge jump, nobody's holding you on, and, you know, you feel comfortable out there, and he's, you know, starts his delivery to go home, take off, you know, go pick up third. That's my opinion. If your coach tells you no, then do what your coach says, obviously. So another thing, if you're on third base and you pitcher, catcher, or both are not paying attention, you know, and you've already got a little bit of a lead, go. If you see a window big enough to get through, go get through it. Obviously, we'll be more aggressive with, you know, stealing home or on pass balls even, or whatever, with 2 outs, and less aggressive or more patient with 0 outs, right? If you're a pitcher and you have an aggressive base runner on third, you know, you can side-eye him or even make him think you're not watching him at all, and then, you know, when he breaks for home, bust him, you know, or even just turn your back on him for a half second and then just jump, spin around, and be ready to throw to home, expecting that he went. You know, if you see it's that kind of a base runner and you can tell he's looking for it, you know, turn your back on him and make you think you hadn't thought about him, then jump around, spin, ready to gun it home. You know, it's a risk you can or cannot take. It's up to you, but just be aware of, you know, your options. What I'm throwing out here, trying to put it in your hands as ballers, and, you know, say that everything out here is situational, and if you're plugged in and know what you're doing and you have confidence in yourself, you can probably pull a lot of stuff off, at least once per game anyway. So here's another situation you should hopefully all know. What do you do if you're a base runner on first or second and the pitcher starts in a windup as opposed to the stretch, right? Hopefully you know to steal. Windup takes a lot longer than a stretch, so if you take off as soon as he starts his windup, you'll steal the base easily. Here's another one. Also, if you just stole second on a left-handed pitcher, you should be able to steal third as well, right? Technically, it's easier to steal second than third on the lefty pitchers, right? Because you get a bigger lead and a better jump, right? When they're left-handed pitcher and you're on first, they're facing you, you can't get a huge lead or a good jump, really. But when they're, you know, you're back there, then you can get a better lead, better jump. So here's another thing about base running, at least at this level, there's not that, I mean, I know you usually listen to your base coach, but so maybe I'm talking to myself here, but there's not a huge need to chance stretching a single into a double. You know, if it doesn't get to the gap and, you know, go to the wall, you know, just round and look and be ready for, in case they make a bad throw, yeah, get that extra base on an error. But if it's a good throw and, you know, it's coming back in, I wouldn't try stretching it, because it's usually pretty easy to steal at this level and get at least second. So, you know, as you get older and it gets harder to steal, this will be a little less relevant, but for now, it might be something to keep in mind. You know, don't be too aggressive going first to second, especially if you know it's, you know, we've been stealing on them all day and it's no trouble. Pitchers, you know, something hopefully you all know. What should we do on a ground ball to our left? And answer, of course, cover first, right? First baseman might get pulled off the base to his right, or, you know, just bobble the ball, and by the time he picks it up, the runner's almost to the base and he's too far away to beat him. If you're, you know, on that path to first base with your glove out in front of you, calling for the ball, then you can help get that out. So just make that habit. I like the peel off and kind of J shape and run up the line, just because that keeps from running into the, the base runner by crossing into the base path. If you stay a couple feet, a foot and a half inside of the base path and are running up it ahead of the base runner, it's super easy, but you got to be on point to know when it happens, doing it every time, or you'll be late, in which case you should probably just take a straight line, the shortest path to the base. But talk to your individual coach about what they want, and definitely practice it some, right? So know when as a pitcher to try to get the ball, know when to try to cover first, etc. Or, and then, based on where it's hitting the field, know when to, back up whoever, third baseman, a catcher, or whatever, be a cutoff man, whatever your coach wants you to do in certain situations. So I think we'll stop there for this video and start the next one with hitting. All right, thanks for watching.